To free AJ. It's been 6 years, it's been 2 trials, it's been 40, 50 witnesses, it's been probably millions of dollars of expenses by the district attorney's office. It's time to let this young man go.
I personally would like him to stay behind bars. I think he is a danger to society, and I think he's a danger to our family.
Tutors constantly teased him about a psycho teenager who murdered his own family. Our constant accusation of lying would make the trial useless, as the jury reports hopelessly deadlocked. Because he failed out of school, the court declared the incident in this trial horrendous. I think there is a risk to the community, which is always kind of a jerk towards me and my mom. On July 29, 2016, you took number 6, Antonio Armstrong. The bodies of Antonio Armstrong Sr. and Don Armstrong were found in bed inside their Houston home as they slept. In the months leading up to the murder, police pinpointed Armstrong as a primary suspect, and prosecutors argued that his parents had reprimanded him often for poor grades, lying, and lack of conduct. In addition to the slang, they were constantly getting on him about tutors, accusing him of lying, failing out of school, and spending too much time with his girlfriend the night before. Armstrong called the police around 1:40 a.m. after hearing gunshots and seeing a masked man inside the house. A .22 caliber pistol and a strange note were found on the kitchen counter when the police arrived, but no signs of forced entry were found. His subsequent retrial is scheduled for March 2023. Armstrong pleaded not guilty to all the charges and adamantly denied that he committed the slang. There have probably been many discussions about this, and I'm sure you have. Would you mind if I asked you once if you killed your parents? The jury listened to the evidence, and we just discussed it with them. I could not be more proud of a group of people. As far as serving the criminal justice system and doing their job, we're very proud of this jury. They did their jobs well. We discussed the evidence with them, but they never went through all the messages. I know this is probably not the result of all the sacrifices you've made with your employment, family, friends, and everything you've done to reach this point. It was a very complicated case, with much evidence for all of you. Your patience and determination have not gone unnoticed, so we thank you for your service on behalf of the 178th and all of us here. As a result, the court declared a mistrial, which was what everyone hoped for as a resolution. However, please note that we fully support him and believe in his innocence. The charges on our family are all right and green. Since 2016, we have been by our grandson's side daily. 5 family members of the Griego family were killed in the Griego family mass shooting on January 19, 2013 in South Valley, New Mexico. The parents and 3 younger children were shot with 2 different weapons. Nehemiah Griego, the 15-year-old eldest son of the family, was arrested and charged with the shootings. According to police, the suspect, Mam Griego, shot and destroyed her parents and 3 siblings at their home in South Valley, New Mexico, near Albuquerque. With a 22-inch rifle, Griego shot his mother around midnight. He told his younger brother, Zephaniah, that Griego had shot their mother. He neck-shot Zephaniah with the same gun and then went into the bedroom of his 2 younger sisters, who were crying, and killed them both. He went downstairs to wait for his father to return home from a homeless shelter shift. When I want no retaliation, I love you and want to see the best for you guys. The answer to this is horrendous. I think there is a risk of community. Nobody's ever shown me that kind of mercy and compassion the way you mess it up. Even the worst of us can make progress. Even the ones who have been through hell and back can still make it, and I pray for healing for you. In my heart, I am sorry for taking our parents and our sins from you. I wish I could take back the realities. I'm so grateful for you guys hearing about me from then on, from 15 to 17. He said he had been having self-hatred and homicidal thoughts. I don't recognize myself. He obtained the guns from his parents' closet after his father brought them and taught them to him and his mother. Since he was a minor during the crimes, he intended to drive away more people, slay them, and finally die in a gun battle with the police. The prosecutor appealed the judge's proposed sentence, and the appeals court overturned it in 2019. In Griango's case, he was sentenced as an adult. My brother, who was my brother, has a target on her back, and it's going publicly against him, and I feel you know, I just don't understand why I didn't see it coming. It's a tragedy and a sadness because a teenager couldn't do what he wanted to do. He is a danger to society, and he's a danger to my family, and I think he should remain behind bars. He was incredibly kind to me and my mother whenever I spoke to him. The fact that Nehemiah killed his own family demonstrates just how detached, callous and brutal he could be. I don't think 5 years is enough for anyone, whether it's him or anybody else. I don't know why I didn't realize something was wrong with him. 5 Beaver family members were slain in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma on July 22, 2015. 2 members, 2-year-old Autumn and 13-year-old Crystal, made it out alive. After Daniel Bella called 911 and alerted authorities, 2 of his sisters were saved.
Hello?
Oh,
Hi, where are you at?
Broken Arrow, Oklahoma 7411.
What address?
709 Magnolia Court.
Okay. Are you the only one there?
No, my brother's attacking my family.
Your dad is attacking your family?
No, my brother. Oh.
When the first officers arrived, they saw blood on the porch. They knocked on the door, heard a faint voice calling for help, and forced their way in, finding Crystal Beaver, 13, bleeding severely from multiple knife wounds. Daniel Beaver and the remaining victims had all died after the officers pulled her out of the house. One of the brothers who perpetrated the slang lured out the victims by pretending to have dangerous knives, hatchets, and other bladed weapons found at the scene, along with protective gear. Crystal Beaver identified 2 of her brothers as the source of her family's slang. When police arrived, 2 suspects fled the scene through the house's back door and headed into the woods behind the house. Canine units were used to apprehend them quickly, and they were arrested without incident. Among the suspects were 18-year-old Robert Beaver, the oldest son of David and April Beaver, and his 16-year-old brother Michael Robert Beaver. It transpired that he and his brother had planned to commit a shooting spree outside the family for some time. He confessed to him committing the family side of the crime. The sentence for Robert Beaver was a life prison without the possibility of parole. A life sentence with the possibility of parole was also imposed on Michael Beaver. Michael is in a different position than Robert, and that's what this trial is about. We believe they will find Michael in another place than Robert, making him look like he doesn't understand. He couldn't even keep track of what was happening inside that house. There's no way a jury or anyone can know solely he's responsible. Number 3. Edmund Kemper had a difficult childhood with divorced parents, and signs of trouble appeared very early. Kemper dreamed about killing his mother sometimes. His first victims were the family cats when he was 10. A 13-year-old Kemper was slaughtered with a knife, and the other was buried alive. For a time, he lived with his father. Eventually, he turned to his mother, who sent him to live with his paternal grandparents in North Fork, California. A 15-year-old Kemper shot his grandfather in the kitchen after an argument in 1964, and when his grandfather returned home, Kemper shot him in the car and hid the body. Then he called his mother, who told him to call the police and tell them what happened. Kemper intended to experience what it was like to shoot his grandmother. It was in 1973 that Kemper committed what would prove to be his last slang words. He and his mother had an unpleasant exchange at his mother's house on Good Friday. In the night, Kemper attacked his mother's throat with a hammer and then sliced it with a knife after she had fallen asleep. Afterward, he decapitated her, cut off her hands and threw them down the garbage disposal after hiding her body parts. After Hallett arrived, Kemper took her life and hid it in a closet. On April 23rd, Kemper called the Santa Cruz police to confess his crimes, charged with 8 counts of first-degree slang. He left the area the following day, driving east until he reached Pueblo, Colorado. The trial for Kemper's crimes took place in October 1973. Kemper was found guilty of all charges, and when asked what punishment he thought he should receive, said torture to death. Instead, 8 concurrent life sentences were handed down to him. The second shooting occurred on September 2, 2003, when Alan Scott Johnson and Diane Johnson were murdered in their Bellevue, Idaho home. It was at approximately 6:20 a.m. that Sarah Johnson was found guilty of her slang. The weapon was a .264 caliber rifle that Johnson had taken from the guest house. Then in her parents' bedroom, she shot her mother in the head and shot her father in the chest while he was showering in the bathroom. DNA evidence were presented at trial from a discarded bathrobe and a latex glove in the garbage can in front of the house. The items contained the DNA of both victims, and Sarah's leather glove had gunshot residue on it. Researchers found the other leather glove that belonged to the pair in Johnson's bedroom. Sarah was 16 years old at the time of the incident, and her apparent motive was that her parents forbade her from dating a 19-year-old drug dealer named Bruno Santos. An Ada County jury convicted her on March 16, 2005 of taking her parents' lives. For a firearm enhancement, she was sentenced to 2 concurrent life without parole terms plus 15 years. Her conviction was upheld by the Idaho Supreme Court in 2012 after Johnson's lawyer filed a petition for a new trial alleging that her legal counsel had been ineffective. A renter living in the family's guest house provided fingerprints on the weapon that matched those on Johnson, and no blood spatter was found on Johnson. According to the request, it was denied in October 2014. She attempted to reduce her life sentence to 2017 based on the Miller v. Alabama and Montgomery v. Louisiana Supreme Court rulings, but her sentence was upheld. A lovely home on the northwest side of Rochester was owned by David Jerome Bernard and Paulette Brom. From the outside, the Broms looked like a typical middle-class family with a daughter, Jo, 19, a son, David, 16, a daughter, Diane, 13, and Ricky, 9. David, however, had a dark side that not even his family knew about. When David Brom brutally murdered his father, mother, brother, and sister in their home on the outskirts of Rochester on February 18, 1988, Olmsted County Sheriff Kevin Torgerson was a deputy at the time. Torgerson had only been in law enforcement for 4 years at the time. During a call to check on the Brom house, David's father, mother, brother, and sister were discovered dead when he was dispatched to do a welfare check. The home of David and his older brother was empty. After initially believing that David Brom had been kidnapped, a female schoolmate revealed that David had confessed to killing his family members. David Brom apparently was involved in an argument with his father and killed him and his mother while sleeping. As David Brom headed towards his sister's bedroom, he found her and his younger brother in the hallway and destroyed them. In 2041, he will be eligible for parole after serving time at St. Cloud Correctional Facility till he's approximately 70. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences in prison as of now. That's all for today's video. See you next time.